right, let's dive into one of the most complex, emotionally charged, and endlessly debated topics in modern history, the Israel-Palestine conflict. Who's wrong? That's the question we're tackling today, and I promise you, this isn't going to be your typical dry history lesson. We're going deep, way beyond the headlines, into mind-blowing facts, hidden layers, and unexpected angles that span history, science, psychology, technology, and even nature. Buckle up, because this journey is going to keep you hooked from start to finish. I'm not here to preach or pick sides outright. I'm here to unpack the wild, fascinating, and sometimes unsettling details that make this conflict what it is. Let's get started. First off, let's set the stage. The Israel-Palestine conflict is often painted as an ancient feud stretching back thousands of years, rooted in biblical times or religious rivalry. You've probably heard that narrative before. Jews and Arabs locked in an eternal struggle over the Holy Land. But here's the kicker. That's not entirely true. The modern conflict as we know it didn't kick off until the late 19th century, with its real turning point coming in 1948. Before that, the region known historically as Palestine was a melting pot where Jews, Muslims, and Christians coexisted under various empires, from the Romans to the Ottomans. Sure, there were tensions, but nothing like the all-out clash we see today. So, what changed? How did this relatively small patch of land, about the size of New Jersey, become the epicenter of one of the world's most intractable disputes? Let's rewind and find out. Picture this. It's the late 1800s, and Europe is a tough place to be Jewish. Anti-Semitism is rampant, pogroms, violent riots targeting Jewish communities are breaking out in Russia and Eastern Europe. Enter Theodor Herzl, an Austro-Hungarian journalist with a radical idea. He's watching his people get persecuted, and he thinks, why not create a safe haven? A Jewish homeland. This movement, called Zionism, gains traction fast. But where should this homeland be? Some Zionists suggest Argentina or Uganda, but Palestine, tied to Jewish history through the Bible, wins out. Here's a wild fact. At the time, Palestine is under Ottoman rule, and its population is about 90% Arab, mostly Muslim, with a small Jewish minority. The idea of turning it into a Jewish state? That's a long shot to say the least. Fast forward to the First World War. The Ottoman Empire is crumbling, and Britain steps in with a game changer, the Balfour Declaration. In 1917, British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour writes a letter promising support for a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. It's a short note, 67 words, but it's a bombshell. Why? Because Britain doesn't even control Palestine yet. They're still fighting the Ottomans. Plus, they've made conflicting promises to Arab leaders like Sharif Hussein of Mecca about independence in exchange for help against the Turks. So Britain's playing a double game, and the locals, Palestinian Arabs, aren't happy. They see this as a colonial power meddling in their land, setting the stage for a massive influx of Jewish settlers. By the 1920s and 30s, Jewish immigration spikes, especially as Nazis rise in Germany. The Holocaust, where 6 million Jews are murdered, only supercharges the urgency. By 1947, Jews make up about a third of Palestine's population. Tensions are boiling over. Now, let's hit pause for a mind-blowing historical twist. Did you know that in 1936, a British commission suggested partitioning Palestine into Jewish and Arab states? It's called the Peel Commission, and it's the first time anyone officially floats this idea. The plan's wild. Jews would get a tiny sliver of land, about 20%, mostly along the coast. Arabs reject it outright, saying, why should we give up anything? Jews aren't thrilled either, but some see it as a foot in the door. The plan flops, violence erupts, and Britain's left scrambling. This little-known moment is huge. It's an early blueprint for what happens later, and it shows how messy things already were. So, we arrive at 1947. The British are done. They've been policing Palestine under a League of Nations mandate, but they can't handle the chaos. They punt the issue to the United Nations, which comes up with Resolution 181, split Palestine into 2 states, one Jewish, one Arab, with Jerusalem as an international city. Jews get 56% of the land, even though they're a minority. Arabs say, no way, this is their home, and they're the majority. Jews accept it, and on May 14, 1948, David Ben-Gurion declares the State of Israel. The next day, 5 Arab armies, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq, invade. This is the first Arab-Israeli war, known to Israelis as the War of Independence, and to Palestinians as the Nakba, or catastrophe. Here's the jaw-dropper. By the time the dust settles in 1949, about 750,000 Palestinians, half the Arab population, flee or are expelled from their home. Israel ends up controlling 77% of the land, way more than the UN plan gave them. Egypt takes Gaza, Jordan takes the West Bank. The stage is set, but who's wrong here? Was it the Zionists for pushing into a land already inhabited? The British for making promises they couldn't keep? The Arabs for rejecting the partition? Let's dig deeper, way deeper. Because this isn't just about politics. There's science, psychology, and even nature woven into this story. Let's shift gears to a wild scientific angle, archaeology. This conflict isn't just about modern borders, it's fueled by ancient claims. Both Jews and Palestinians point to history to justify their rights. For Jews, it's the biblical kingdom of Israel, dating back over 3,000 years. Excavations in Jerusalem, like the City of David site, have uncovered Hebrew inscriptions and artifacts from the First Temple period, around 1000 BCE. It's tangible proof of a Jewish presence millennia ago. But here's the flip side. Palestinian Arabs trace their roots to the Canaanites, who lived there even earlier, before the Israelites arrived. DNA studies, yes, science gets involved, show that modern Palestinians have genetic ties to ancient populations in the Levant going back at least 4,000 years. So both sides have a deep historical claim backed by hard evidence. Mind-blowing, right? It's like the land itself is a time capsule whispering secrets that fuel the fight. Now let's talk nature. Because this tiny strip of land isn't just any place, it's part of the Fertile Crescent, one of the cradles of civilization. The Jordan River, cutting through the region, has been a lifeline for millennia, supporting agriculture in a mostly arid Middle East. But here's the crazy part. Water is a weapon in this conflict. After the Six-Day War in 1967, when Israel captures the West Bank, Gaza, East Jerusalem, and the Golan Heights, it gains control of the Jordan River's headwaters and the West Bank's aquifers. Today, Israel uses about 80% of that water, leaving Palestinians with scraps. In Gaza, 96% of the groundwater is unfit to drink, thanks to overextraction and pollution. Nature's bounty becomes a bargaining chip, and it's a stark reminder this isn't just about land, it's about survival. Speaking of 1967, let's unpack that war because it's a turning point. Israel launches a preemptive strike against Egypt, Syria, and Jordan, fearing an imminent attack. In 6 days, they triple their territory. It's a military masterstroke, but it's also a disaster for Palestinians. Another 300,000 flee, joining the Nakba refugees. Israel's occupation of the West Bank and Gaza begins, and it's still going strong today. The longest military occupation in modern history. Here's a little-known fact. During the war, Israel captures the Sinai Peninsula from Egypt, but gives it back in 1979 as part of a peace deal. That's rare. Israel doesn't usually let go of land. So why keep the West Bank and Gaza? Security, they say. But Palestinians call it colonization. Who's wrong? Depends on who you ask. Let's pivot to technology, because this conflict isn't fought just with guns. It's a high-tech showdown. Israel's Iron Dome is a marvel, a missile defense system that intercepts rockets mid-air. Since its debut in 2011, it's stopped thousands of attacks from Gaza, saving countless lives. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie. Radar tracks incoming threats, and interceptors blast them out of the sky. But here's the flip side. Hamas, the militant group ruling Gaza since 2007, builds rockets and tunnels with whatever they can scrape together under Israel's blockade. They're low-tech but relentless, firing over 8,000 rockets between 2001 and 2009 alone. The tech gap is insane. Israel's got cutting-edge systems, while Palestinians improvise with smuggled parts. It's a David and Goliath vibe, but with a twist. Both sides claim the moral high ground. Now let's get psychological. This conflict messes with people's heads, literally. Studies show that Israelis living near Gaza, bombarded by rockets, suffer sky-high rates of PTSD, up to 30% in some areas compared to 4% globally. Kids grow up sprinting to bomb shelters. It's their normal. On the flip side, Palestinians in Gaza face constant trauma too. Airstrikes, power cuts, and a 16-year blockade mean 90% of teens show signs of anxiety or depression. Here's a gut-punch fact. A 2019 study found that Gaza's kids have nightmares at triple the rate of kids elsewhere. Both sides are locked in a cycle of fear and rage, passed down through generations. Psychologically, it's a pressure cooker. Each trauma fuels the next clash. Who's wrong, the ones firing rockets or the ones dropping bombs? Or is it the history that trapped them here? Let's zoom out to space. Yes, space. Because even the cosmos play a role. In 2021, Israel launched a satellite called Venus, designed to monitor environmental changes. It's caught stunning images of the region, showing how settlements and barriers carve up the West Bank. From orbit, you can see the separation wall, over 400 miles long, snaking through the landscape like a scar. It's a stark visual of division, and it's not just symbolic. The wall, started in 2002 during the Second Intifada, cuts Palestinians off from their fields, schools, and families. Israel says it's for security, stopping suicide bombings, and it has. Palestinians call it apartheid, a land grab that chokes their lives. Satellite tech reveals the stakes. Every inch of this land is contested, even from space. Back on Earth, let's explore a hidden gem, the Dead Sea. It's smack between Israel and Jordan near the West Bank, and it's the lowest point on the planet, over 1,300 feet below sea level. It's also shrinking fast, losing a meter a year due to dams and climate change. Both Israel and Palestinians tap its minerals, but the water wars upstream mean it's dying. Here's the wild part. In the 1980s, there was talk of a canal from the Red Sea to save it, a joint project that could have united the region. It never happened. Politics killed it. Nature's losing, and so is any chance of cooperation. Who's wrong? The ones who can't share a dying sea. Let's jump to human psychology again, because this conflict thrives on narratives. Israelis see themselves as survivors, building a refuge after centuries of exile and genocide. The Holocaust isn't just history, it's a living memory, shaping their need for a fortress state. Palestinians, meanwhile, see themselves as indigenous victims, displaced by outsiders with colonial backing. The Nakba isn't a one-time event. It's an ongoing reality, with millions still in refugee camps. Both narratives are true in their own way, but they clash hard. A 2004 study found that when Israelis and Palestinians hear each other's stories, empathy spikes, but so does defensiveness. It's a paradox. Understanding breeds connection, but also entrenches positions. Who's wrong? The ones clinging to their truth, or the ones refusing to hear the other? Now, let's talk about the intifadas, uprisings that shook the world. The first Intifada hits in 1987, sparked by decades of occupation. Palestinians throw stones at Israeli tanks. It's raw, desperate resistance. Over 6 years, more than 1,000 Palestinians and 100 Israelis die. The second Intifada, starting in 2000, is bloodier. Suicide bombings rock Israeli cities, and Israel responds with crushing force. By 2005, over 4,000 are dead, mostly Palestinians. Here's a chilling fact. During the second Intifada, Palestinian kids as young as 12 joined the fight, some becoming bombers. Why? Despair, indoctrination, and a sense of no future. Israel cracks down, building that wall. Both sides dig in deeper. Who's wrong? The occupier or the occupied? Let's fast forward to the Israel-Hamas war, starting October 7, 2023. Hamas launches a shock attack from Gaza, killing over 1,200 Israelis and taking 250 hostages. It's brutal. Gunmen storm homes, massacre festival goers. Israel hits back with airstrikes and a ground invasion, leveling parts of Gaza. By early 2025, over 45,000 Palestinians are dead, per Gaza officials, and 2/3 of the Strip's buildings are rubble. A ceasefire in January 2025 lasts 6 weeks before collapsing. Here's a staggering stat. 1.9 million Gazans, 85% of the population, are displaced. It's the bloodiest chapter yet. Who's wrong? Hamas for starting it, or Israel for the scale of retaliation? Let's pivot to a tech twist: drones. Israel's a pioneer here, using them to patrol borders and strike targets. In 2014, during Operation Protective Edge, drones hit Gaza with surgical precision, but also civilian casualties. Hamas counters with crude drones of their own, smuggling parts through tunnels. It's a tech arms race, and civilians pay the price. A little-known fact: Israel's drone program, started in the 1970s, inspired global militaries, including the U.S. It's a double-edged sword, security for one side, terror for the other. Who's wrong? The ones with the firepower, or the ones fighting back with scraps? Now let's explore science again. Agriculture. The West Bank's fertile, but Israeli settlements, over 200 of them, gobble up land and water. Palestinians say their farms are attacked, their olives torched by settlers. A 2012 report found 90% of Palestinian agricultural complaints against settlers go unprosecuted. Meanwhile, Israel's made deserts bloom. Drip irrigation, a tech they invented, feeds crops with pinpoint efficiency. They've turned a barren land into an exporter of dates and citrus. But Palestinians get locked out of the bounty. Nature's a battleground here, too. Who's wrong, the settlers or the farmers? Let's circle back to history with a wild what-if. In 1993, the Oslo Accords promise peace. Israel and the PLO, led by Yasser Arafat, shake hands. It's a two-state solution in the works, Palestine alongside Israel. But it falls apart. Assassinations, bombings, and mistrust kill it by 2000. Here's the kicker. A leaked 1995 memo shows Israel planned to keep most of the West Bank anyway. Palestinians felt duped. Israelis say Arafat never wanted peace. A missed chance or a mirage? Who's wrong, the negotiators or the spoilers? Let's end with a cosmic perspective. The International Space Station has flown over this region thousands of times since 1998. Astronauts up there see no borders, just a blue-green marble. Down here, though, those invisible lines spark endless war. From space, it's absurd. On the ground, it's life or death. So who's wrong? After all this history, science, psychology, tech, nature, I can't hand you a simple answer. Israel's fighting for survival, rooted in a past of persecution. Palestinians are fighting for freedom, rooted in a present of dispossession. Both have blood on their hands. Both have truths that maybe the real question isn't who's wrong, but how do we stop the cycle? What do you think? Let me know. I'm all ears for this one. Thanks for sticking with me. This was a wild ride.